Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 13 Monday Night Showdown is right here on DraftKings. We've got a great game this week between the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. Great players on both sides. A really high total in this game. I think it's 49, if I have that correct. Yeah, 49.5, up a point from where it opened at 48.5. And we're expecting a close game. Seattle's favored by 3 in this one. The game is in Seattle. That means if this game was on a neutral site, they would expect this game to play pretty even. We also have two teams that stop one thing but allow the other, and the other that they allow is the thing that the opposing team is actually very good at. We have a major injury with Adam Thielen, which is going to open up some more usage for our cover boy Stephon Diggs here. We're going to get into how he's done in the games that Thielen has been out this year versus the games that Thielen has played. So thank you for joining. We're coming up on the stretch run. Week 14 is right around the corner. I hope that you guys had a great Sunday of football for week 13. We'll do the recap show on Monday. It'll be published on YouTube Monday afternoon. We'll also come out with the first look. And all those videos are recorded live on twitch.tv/Al_smizzle. There is a link down below in the description that will take you there, and you can watch the videos recorded live on stream. We banter beforehand and afterwards. Better for me to get to know you that way in the chat on Twitch than it is for me to really try and get to know people in the comments here on YouTube. But I do appreciate you guys watching all these videos on YouTube. If you'd be so kind, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, because I come out with a ton of content throughout the week during NFL season, every single week, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos a week. Don't want you to miss any of them. So let's get right into this slate and take a look at what we got. Highest priced player on the slate in captain is Dalvin Cook, and he has been absolutely tremendous, save maybe a couple of weeks. But this is a player whose floor is somewhere in like the 15, 16 point per game range because of the volume that he gets, not just on the ground, but also in the air. 6 targets last week, 7 the week before, 7, 6. We had these couple of weeks where he only had 2 targets, but did very well on the ground in one of them, the 142 rushing. Averaging 24.7 points per game, going to be a very popular captain on this slate because of the fact that you want a captain that can completely break a slate. You want 30 points possible out of your captain because that calculates to 45 points if you have him in that spot. We need to find some value to make that worthwhile, to make that be able to happen. I think that we maybe can, whether it's with the use of kickers or if something else opens up, because I think that there's 1 or 2 guys that possibly have opened up due to the Thielen injury and things that we can do. So Dalvin Cook, an absolutely great play. Don't know if I want to pair him in a group with the defense necessarily because this game is in Seattle. Seattle does allow a lot of pressure, but the one weak spot that this Minnesota defense has is through the air. And I think that Russ Wilson can very likely, very possibly exploit that. And Wilson is the player that I think, well, not that I think he's the player that has the highest median projection on the slate, the highest raw projection on the slate. That doesn't always mean that he's going to end up being the highest scoring player on the slate because it's easier for a running back or a wide receiver to really bust out and have that 25 to 45 point night on DraftKings than it is for a quarterback. And a lot of them come in at cheaper prices because of the high floor that the quarterbacks bring along with them. But Minnesota is really good at stopping opposing running backs, and they love to feed the ball to Chris Carson. But we've seen in games where Russ projects to throw it 35 times or more, right? I've always said that it's not attempts, it's not volume for quarterbacks throwing the ball that always results in fantasy points. It's efficiency. Well, when you've got a historically efficient quarterback like Russ Wilson, and then you get him to throw the ball more, you expect that efficiency to carry out over the larger number of throws. So like the games that he has only like 25 throws, 20 throws, 20 throws here, it's much more difficult for him to have these 28 point days where he threw it 35 times. Here, 44 points on 50 throws. This one against Baltimore. Baltimore's a really tough defense. Didn't have that efficient a day, but that's to be expected against Baltimore. Against Tampa Bay, 43 times he threw it, 42 fantasy points. So if we can get these days where Russ really throws it a ton, those are the games that we expect a higher percentage chance for him to have a quote-unquote ceiling game. For those of you who don't know what a ceiling game is, For a quarterback, that basically means a game where they score between 30 and 40 DraftKings points, right? 300 yards, multiple touchdowns, 3 touchdowns combined, whether it's rushing plus receiving or whatever, and a chance at least at getting the 300-yard bonus. So Russ brings all of that and the ability to score points with his legs. Now, if you're going to play Russ in your captain spot, we talk about this every week. If you're using the optimizer at Daily Roto and people ask me what I use, it's obviously the optimizer over at Daily Roto. There's a link down below to get you 10% off of a new membership. If you want to go check that out, they have a great set of projections that absolutely smashed week 13 up and down the board. Their top 4 or 5 players based on their projections at every spot crushed it. So if you are a Daily Roto subscriber, you probably had yourself a very good week in week 13. Like I said, that link is down below and they have a great optimizer that you can use. And we've got some videos on the channel that can help you learn how to use that as well. So go give them a chance if you haven't. Go give them a look-see if you haven't already. As I said, if you're building a group in the optimizer, whether you're using the Daily Roto one or an optimizer on any other site, because there's plenty of them around the industry, whichever one you're comfortable with, you're going to want to pair. You're going to make 2 groups. First of all, you're going to make one group with Russ Wilson and all of his pass catchers. We talk about this every week. So guys like Tyler Lockett, who has had 2 really quiet games, but now he's got a spot. I mean, San Francisco is a really, really tough defense, expected down spot, and divisional opponent. Philadelphia had somewhat of a resurgence before this Miami game in week 13, where their defense was playing exceptionally well, and he was coming off of a little bit of an injury in week 12 as well against Philly, as much as they've been roasted and toasted by opposing wide receivers. So this is a great bounce back spot for Tyler Lockett on Monday night against Minnesota defense that has not been able to stop anybody through the air. I think they've allowed like the 3rd most DraftKings points to opposing wide receivers on the season. Don't quote me on that. I could look it up, but I don't want to waste your time on this video. But it's high. They've allowed like the 2nd or 3rd most points to opposing wide receivers. So this is a good spot for me for Tyler Lockett. Somebody else that I think it's a very good spot for is DK Metcalf. He's had his ups and downs, but there's been more ups than downs for the rookie, who a lot of people thought was not going to have a great season this year. He's done exceptionally well at getting deep and being a really big target, who's one of the league leaders in both red zone targets and end zone targets. The end zone targets being the ones that are the highest value targets, as those are the most likely to turn into touchdowns. You could argue that 5 touchdowns on the year is too low for DK Metcalf based on the expectation that we should have for him with the amount of volume that he's seen in the most leveraged area of the field, near and into the end zone, and now facing a team that really doesn't do well at stopping what he brings to the table, what his quarterback brings to the table. So we're going to throw him into that group. This is not a team that I'm putting together. This is a group for an optimizer. We're also going to throw, I'm not going to put Chris Carson in the group with Russ Wilson at captain, but I'm not going to X him out of lineups with Russ Wilson at captain. Going to throw Hollister in that group. Going to throw Gordon in that group. Going to throw the kicker in that group as well. And then any value pass catchers that you think are going to see the field, guys like Moore, guys like Jerron Brown. I'm going to make sure that at least 2 of these guys is in the lineup anytime that the optimizer makes me a lineup with Russ Wilson. And I'm also going to build another group called a bring back group, making sure that anybody on the other team is involved in those lineups as well. At least one of those players is in every one of those lineups. Talked about Dalvin Cook. Stephon Diggs is going to step into a spot now without Thielen, where if we look at his game splits in 2019, he's played 8 games. This is in split. Okay, so this is in split means Adam Thielen played. And this is from the RotoViz Game Splits app. If you haven't gone and checked out their site, great stat site, great data site. Go give them a look. I'm not affiliated with them. I have no discounts for you. I have no affiliate tag with them. I just think it's a really good site that I use for research. And I think that if you're interested in really digging, they do a good job of helping you dig. So within 8 games with Adam Thielen this year, he is averaging 14.28 PPR points per game. In the 3 games that Thielen is sat, 17.43. He's averaging 104 yards receiving in those games that Adam Thielen has sat versus 70 receiving yards per game in those other games that Thielen has played. So kind of a spot where we expect him to perform because of the vacated targets from Adam Thielen. We see the massive game on only 5 targets, big downfield threat, great contested catch guy, runs great routes, extremely fast, game-breaking speed as well, and should see solid volume against Seattle, who is more of a reputation defense, a defense that is been good over the last decade or so, 5 to 10 years, but then really is not that defense anymore this year in 2019. So Kirk Cousins, the other player who's done really well more recently than at the beginning of the year when they were running the ball too much. These sort of performances the first 4 weeks of this season, we've seen some more 20 and 30-point games mixed in more recently, and kind of priced down at around 9K in the flex this week, less than Diggs, which I was not expecting. Kyle Rudolph, we know that Seattle has allowed the third most points per game to opposing tight ends. So while Kyle Rudolph was somebody who was kind of meandering at the beginning of the year, he's worked his way back into prominence, at least with the way that they've been running offense the last few weeks, with 5 targets per game and getting into the end zone 4 times. I don't expect this touchdown efficiency to continue, but he is the guy, once they get near the goal line and end zone targets, is seeing a lot more of them recently. So it's not going to continue at this rate, right? You're not going to see 4 touchdowns every 3 games for the rest of the season, but he is a touchdown threat and does bring with him a percentage of touchdown equity for every single game, and has a great matchup. Opposing quarterbacks are throwing for like a quarterback rating of 125 plus when targeting their tight ends against Seattle. So a good spot for him as well. He's going to be included in that bring back group. And basically every player, I'm going to make sure that at least one of every Minnesota player is going to be on the team. Now, Olabisi Johnson, the other player that I expect to see a lot more snaps in the absence of Thielen. We could have run his, I could have run his game splits for you as well. They're going to be massive because he's going to play a lot more snaps in games that Thielen is out versus when Thielen is in. So he is the clear-cut value play at 2,600. He's going to be in that Russ Wilson at captain group as well. And we're going to do the same thing the other way. If Kirk Cousins is our captain, we're going to build that same group with all the pass catchers on Minnesota, and then a bring back group with everybody, including the quarterback and running backs on the other team. Looking at the kickers and defense, as I said, if you're looking for value, Olabisi Johnson is the one that stands out as value. You could also look to somebody like Irv Smith, possibly as a flex value play. If you want to get off of the Rudolph chalk where everybody's going to be chasing that touchdown, you want to go a different route for less money. I totally understand that. Very talented kid, Irv Smith. But looking at the kickers and defense, typically I limit to 1. In this game, I'm probably going to do the same, at least with the defenses. Limit to 1 defense in the lineup and probably limit to 1 kicker in any lineup as well, because I think that there's enough offense in this spot to warrant not having multiples at the positions here in your flex spots. I'm probably not going to use any kicker in the captain spot. I rarely do that. Usually only at altitude. Okay, so like if it's an altitude game, I'll think about it with a kicker that's got a lot of leg. Or defenses at captain in games where I think that there's an overmatched offensive line that could give up a lot of sacks, that could turn into a lot of touchdowns and open up so you could just basically play all the studs. So I get it. It's just a rare thing that happens for that to be the winning combination. And I try to stay on the right side of the math where the decisions that I'm making are ones that are going to be more profitable in the long term. So like you could win one showdown if you have those sorts of players and combinations in your captain, but realistically in the long term, if you do things the right way, you're more likely to win. That's going to do it for this week's video. I appreciate you guys showing up. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, make sure to ring that notifications bell, and let me know who is most likely to be your captain. Now, not just like the most likely guy, right? Not, oh, Russ Wilson's going to be my captain, or Dalvin Cook's going to be my captain. Well, give me one guy who's priced under 12,000, who you are most happy with in your captain spot for this Monday Night Football game. I want to hear from you. So let me know in the replies, and make sure you drop by on Twitch. Love to say hi to you during the week. I'm live 6 days a week during NFL season. Hope you all had a really good Thanksgiving. Hope you had a winning week 13. And until that next video, I'll catch up to you later. Bye.
He's a legend.